I am here with John Loden, and we are going to talk about some things that I guess we both find interesting. I was in a conversation with him just the other day, and we were both interested in discussing some ideas and putting it on film. So I hope you enjoy our interaction. How you doing, John?
Good, man. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to
It's
see
been
you.
a while.
Yeah, it has been a while. I'm kind of curious as to like your background and where you grew up and like what, just kind of where did you come from spiritually?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm glad you asked. It's kind of a long journey. I'm 55 now. My dad was in the Air Force, and he came from a semi-Christian background of that. He's probably 82 now, so he's definitely a baby boomer. My mom is around the same age. She's actually was born in England and raised in New York, so he's from Lampasas, Texas. I don't know if you've been there, but it's like a really country town,
Yeah.
especially back then. And then my mom from England and New York. It was such a fundamentally, juxtaposed kind of marriage, and they got along great. They were great, but neither one of them was super religious. We had a Bible in the house, and as a little child it was like this really cool Bible. It had lots of pictures in it and stuff, and I was enamored with that and the stories of it. But somehow the lack of discipline of us going to church, and they didn't really know the Bible much. I started feeling estranged from religion and people that were religious. But a cool thing happened when I was 8. A neighbor started having me go to church with him. So I got saved at 8, but then as a teenager, again, that lack of discipline, I kind of fell away from God, and I just had a lot of those questions. And I became an atheist. I mean, a full-on atheist. I loved conversing and arguing with people against God, and I didn't feel ashamed about it at all. And it was not good. We moved around a lot, and we went to some schools that were pretty rough, and I kind of became a rough teenager.
And how long were you, would you say, were you an atheist? How many years?
Probably from about the age of 13, 14 till I was 21.
Okay.
And my ex-wife, she came from a very Christian background, and she would talk about God with me. And I was polite. I'd say, hey, look, I like you,
Yeah.
but I don't want to talk about God. I know that's a hot button for you, so let's just not talk about it. And she was kind about it. She would kind of just witness here and there, and I'm glad she did, because it changed my life. And the best thing that she did was she was telling me how the Bible states that Jesus was going to come in the Old Testament. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? No way. And she's like, yeah, let me show you. And we're in Hawaii. We were living there. And she showed me the Bible. And it was the first time I actually, as an adult, read the word, and it spoke to me. And I ran upstairs to the bathroom. I just couldn't even believe what was happening. It was like the spiritual feeling that came over me, and I'm staring in the mirror almost like I'm hungover, but I wasn't. And I was just looking at myself like, who are you? How did you knew these things? How did you deny these things? And I remember seeing that footprints in the sand little quote that you see in people's bathrooms and stuff. And I was just like weeping, and I was a very hard, fast Christian from then on. But it was kind of weird because I didn't know anything about God. And so I'd try to read the Bible after that. And even though I was being moved and changed by it, I didn't understand. So I started reading a children's Bible just so that I could go through the whole Bible and understand what's this all about,
Kind of get a few visual images, I guess, as well.
Yeah. And so that was kind of the beginning of my journey. And I've had some fallbacks, but in the end, my relationship with God is like a friendship or like a parent-son relationship. Like, you go through troubled times together, but it brings you closer eventually.
So as you've grown in your spirituality and your faith, has anything changed over the years? Did you, I think we've discussed before that you had a near-death experience. And that was kind of a profound experience for you. And could you share with everyone exactly like what happened and and then how that changed your perspective on your own spiritual growth.
Yeah, I appreciate you asking. And
Yeah.
let me just back up 1 second. Like,
Okay, yeah.
you were one of the first people that I told that was excited to hear it.
Yeah.
I had always had this fear when I told this story to people because they would just kind of look at me like, what kind of crazy are you?
Yeah, yeah.
And it was the very second we met, and I don't know, within a minute, somehow we got on that subject at Bible study at church.
Right.
And so I was like kind of nervous as different men were walking in, and it was my first time at this Bible study, and I'm getting really self-conscious telling this story. But I'm grateful because that experience kind of helped me be more brave and be able to share that story and not have so much fear of being judged. But yeah,
That's good. That's really
so
good.
I appreciate that. And so this is kind of nice that we're going along with that. But yeah, do we have time for me to tell the story?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, let's jump in.
Okay, cool. So it's strange that I have these memories, but it happened when I was about 3 years old. We were in San Antonio. My dad was stationed there, but we were living off base on this apartment complex. And my mom was taking me and my brother swimming in the apartment pool. My brother was 3 years older than me, so he would have been around 6. And we had those big orange life preservers on us, and I don't think they had kids ones back then.
No. Yeah, I think they were all just like
Look like
balloons, giant balloons.
Yeah, like Gilligan's Island looking things. And it was uncomfortable. And so she was trying to pull us around at the same time. So eventually she thought, I'll do it one at a time. Mm-hmm. And so she had me hang on to the stairs, a little stainless steel thing. And it's weird that I can remember all these details, but I remember sitting there and seeing all these 4 and 5, 6-year-olds jumping in the water, having fun. And I'm thinking, I can do that. I'm gonna take this stupid thing off of me. And so I take it off and I just start swimming as best I can. And I just quickly started sinking. And there was so many kids and people in the pool that I don't think anybody saw me. And I just remember thinking, if I could just put my fingers above, somebody will see me, And I'm looking down at the drain, and I remember us kids talking about like, ooh, be careful, you'll get sucked down there. So I'm deathly afraid of being sucked into this thing. And I'm having all these thoughts as I'm drowning.
I'm a little claustrophobic, so that kind of like makes me nervous just hearing that.
But it was weird because then I felt like I had been sucked down in the drain. I was sure of it because I remember going through like a tube.
Wow.
And I remember seeing a light at the end of the tunnel and being like, oh man, I hope I come out there. And I did. But with a 3-year-old brain and personality, I'm on a beach now and I'm like, oh, I guess I took a nap. Everything's fine. My parents took us to a beach. And I don't see my parents anymore. I don't see anybody. But probably about 50 yards away, there was a man walking towards me. And I thought it was my dad. So I just started running towards him. And when I got about 20 feet away from him, I stopped in my tracks because I quickly realized it wasn't my dad. My dad was a real thin man, smaller man. And this guy was about my size now. I'm 5'11". And he was thinner and muscular than me. I'm 220, but I remember just being like, whoa, who is this guy? And I said, you're not my dad. And he says, no, I'm not. He said, but I need to talk to you. He said, come sit down with me. And we went and sat down on these rocks, kind of like in the coast, like Maine and San Francisco, where you got them big rocks coming out of the water.
Right. Yeah.
And so the waves are like crashing around us. And I'm sitting comfortably. And I remember just feeling like I was gaining understanding even at 3 years old of what was going on. Just
like your consciousness was expanding.
Perhaps. Like the understanding of like, oh, this is something else, And I knew it was like important.
Did you feel like you were becoming more yourself in that moment? Was there a sense of that?
I never thought of it that way, but yeah, I think maybe that's a good insight. I just remember feeling like this man is important, this moment's important, and I don't know where it's going to lead to, and I'm afraid, but this is magnanimous.
Wow.
Yeah. At 3 years old to feel that, like that's an awakening in its own.
And as far as this man, like, was he dressed a certain way, or did he seem pretty normal, or was there something that kind of stood out to you about him? facial features, like beard, long hair, short hair. That
I
kind
think about that a lot.
Yeah.
I wish I could just take a recorder and relive that moment for a second. But yeah, what I do remember, and also I am aware that I could have imagined all this, you know, and that's a very juxtaposed idea of like, this is a memory, but it could be a dream, it could be a thought, I don't know. But when I got to be a teenager and I started thinking about it more, I asked my parents, I was like, hey, did I drown when I was around 2.5, 3? And they're like, oh yeah, we pulled you out of the water and shook you and you were fine. And I was like, about that.
Yeah.
You know, and I started to tell them and they just quickly dismissed it and like, what are you talking about? And, but I kept thinking about it. But what I do remember is he had longer hair that was kind of curly about to right here. And I remember he was very masculine. He had muscles. And as a kid, I wanted muscles. So that was cool. I was like, but he didn't have a shirt on. I don't remember if he had pants or shorts. I can't remember that. But I just vaguely remember it was like tan color. And he almost seemed like my uncle's, who was a carpenter. And I didn't put that two together until I was older, you know. And anyway, so he sits me down and he's very nurturing and comforting. And he's like, he said, you're here because you were impatient. He said, it's not your time to be here. He said, you're going to have an amazing life. He said, in fact, you're going to have one of the most amazing lives ever. And you are going to live during the most amazing times ever. Wow. And that piqued my mind. Like, what are you talking about? How do you know these things? Like, you know, and then with that little bit of understanding, I was like, okay, well, what am I going to be when I grow up? You know? And he's like,
get excited about life.
Yeah. And he's like trying to tell me, hey, be patient. But I'm like asking all these questions I'm not supposed to know. And after a while, I kind of felt his own frustration with me, which then that kind of scared me of like, oh, this guy is trying to be serious, you know?
Yeah.
And so I just expressed to him, you know, like, well, tell me something. Like, am I going to have love in my life? Which is not something a 3-year-old thinks about or asks.
That's a weird thing for a 3-year-old to ask.
I've thought about all these conversations and I've thought, gosh, that's weird. I definitely was gaining a lot more understanding than I even knew. And he smiled and he said, yes. And that was like, oh, thank goodness, you know. But I didn't want to leave at that point. I was getting so comforting. I was ready to trade in my parents for this guy, you know. And he said, you're going to go back. He said, but just know when you need me, I'll be there. And he could sense I didn't want to go back. And he kept repeating himself, when you need me, I'll be there. And yeah, that started coming to a lot of memories and thoughts since I was about the age of 18.
Wow. So from the point of time in this space when you were talking to him and then being pulled out of the water, what is your memory there in that little space of time?
Like that.
Okay.
Like I just remember being there with my mom again.
Okay.
And I bet probably within 5 minutes I was in the pool playing again. Like she had no idea that had happened.
Wow.
And with a 3-year-old's attention span, I probably had 1 or 2 minutes to digest all that and was like, well, whatever that was, you know, like.
Now, as far as like going down the tunnel or feeling like you're going down a tunnel, did it feel like the drain, or did it feel like you were going through like the tunnel, the spiritual tunnel that a lot of near-death experiences talk about?
You ask great questions. Yeah. Honestly, it felt like going down at a slip and slide.
Wow.
You know, one of those dark ones, and you see the light. It felt pretty much like that.
So it was fun.
It was fun.
But
scary.
Yeah.
You know, because
were you? So okay, I want to ask about your fear. So you were, I'm sure, afraid, momentarily at least, getting pulled down to this drain, and then did the fear disappear, or did it just start to dissipate, or was it sort of like, or did it get bigger, smaller? How did this experience of possibly dying feel to you?
You're intriguing me with questions. I'm going to sit here and have thousands of hours more thoughts about this type of questions because I never really thought about that. That's interesting. But as you were asking me, it was kind of like, oh yeah. At first, it was intense fear, like, oh my God, I'm dying. And then that dissipated pretty quickly.
Wow.
And I don't know if that was from my attention span being so young, or maybe it was spiritual. So I'll have to ask myself that a lot from now on. That's a great question.
Do you feel like you were talking to possibly Jesus or maybe a guardian angel or something? Or maybe a guide of some sorts? What would you, if you were to put a label on it, not that I'm necessarily pushing for that, I'm just wondering like what was your sense of that interaction?
At the time, I had no idea.
Yeah.
You know, I gained some understanding of like, I didn't know the concept of God at 3, but this was somebody important. I've wrestled with it my whole life since then. Was it my grandfather, or was it Jesus? Was it a stranger? I don't know. My feelings change on it. Sometimes I think it was my grandfather, and then other times I think it's Jesus, and other times I think I get into a kind of negative space and I'm like, did it even happen? Like, am I just imagining all this?
Right.
Regardless, even if that's the answer that ultimately comes from this, I'm grateful for it. It gave me a lot of hope in life. It opened up my mind to so many things. But deep down, if you were to put me on a lie detector test, I believe it was Jesus.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people might want to know, when face to face with, whether it be Jesus or your uncle or grandfather or whatever, did it feel like there was judgment at all? I know you were 3 years old, so there wasn't like a huge history of sin, but I think a lot of people are afraid of that. They're afraid of the judgment on the other side. What is your personal sense about that?
That was what I think about a lot, is that moment when I said that he looked frustrated at me. I'm like, wow, that's a vulnerable God if that was God. He was sharing his true feelings with me like a friend would. You know, as I've gotten older and realized what a friend is, that's vulnerable and shows their whole self, not just this Wizard of Oz that we think of as this perfection. He shared his vulnerability of his own frustration with me.
Wow. And how did that experience altogether with what you just said impact your life going forward? Is it something you've looked back on as kind of a reference and a guide to live your life?
Not really, but it does, when you're doing accounting in your mind of asking yourself questions of what's real and what's not, it validates a little bit. Okay. Because if it was that feeling of Wizard of Oz compared to what I know now as an adult about relationships, I'd be like, no, that's not cool.
Yeah. Okay.
And he gave me hope too. When you need me, I'll be there. And then I don't know how much time we have, but I've had a few experiences where I've actually heard the voice of God audibly as an adult.
Yeah, let's hear it.
This is the part that really I get vulnerable, afraid of that people are going to judge me and my wackiness. The first time I had that, I'm trying to remember if I'm not skipping something, because there's about 4 or 5 of them, and I was so freaked out the first time I heard it that I ran to a psychiatrist.
Wow.
I thought I was schizophrenic for sure. Like, why would I be hearing a voice?
Yeah.
It's terrifying. And we didn't have the internet back in, I was 23, so that would have been like 1993 or 4. Right. Didn't have the internet. We had Barnes and Nobles in the bookstore.
That's pretty much it.
The library.
Yeah.
So I was laying in bed. I was married. I had my stepdaughter who was 3 at the time, and she would have been She would have been 4 or 5, and Colt would have been like 2. He was still kind of a baby. And I was seeing how my first wife's alcoholism was really toxic. I had never experienced that level of alcoholism and how detrimental it was in every area of your life. You know, she would drink till she passed out every night. And I was seeing some things from, well, I say her daughter. She's my daughter. I consider her my own flesh and blood now. I raised her since she was 2, but I was seeing some really toxic things that she had experienced as a baby. And then it was rubbing off on my son, and I was like, oh no, I got to get out of here.
Right.
I got to save him. You know, that fight or flight feeling came over me, and I decided I was going to leave her. And she wasn't the kind of person you could just go, hey, let's have a conversation and let's split apart amicably. It was like the mob, you know, it's like skin in and skin out. You know, I knew it was going to cost me. And so I had to plan it, and I began planning my exit. And about the time I had my plan all set, and I wasn't going to tell her, I was going to just leave. And then I was woken up in the middle of the night, and try to be as accurate as I can. The voice said, I am the Alpha and Omega, and I'm here to kill you. He said, we're, plural, so disappointed in you. He said, and I'm laying in bed, and I hear this voice next to my ear, like I'm talking to you, wide awake. It was middle of the night. It could have been midnight, could have been 3, I don't know, but it was like deep in the middle of the night. She's asleep. I look over at her, she's asleep. I'm too afraid to look at it. I had this general sense that if I looked at it, he was going to kill me. He just told me he came here to kill me.
Right. Yeah.
And for one split second, I was like, is this a person? I should look and make sure it's not some burglar, you know?
Yeah, some burglar whispering into your ear or something. Yeah.
What kind of sick burglar is going to say, I'm here, I'm the Alpha and Omega, and I'm here to kill you? Like,
it's
had to do some quick processing, you know? And so terrified, I'm thinking, what do I do? And I think he could sense I was in the state that I was. And he says, I'm going to give you one chance and one chance only, in that tone, to live. He said, you are not here for yourself. You are here for your wife and her family and your children.
Wow.
If you leave her, I will come back and I will kill you. And he, like if I go like that, your instinct is to like, what is that? You know? And I felt that, not even being able to see, I felt his anger with me of like, I'm just going to kill you. Never mind. Like, oh, I missed an important part. He said, and I think about this a lot. When I kill you, you will spend eternity on a faraway, as a grain of sand on a faraway beach. And he took me to that beach, showed me this tiny deserted island beach, and showed me the grain of sand as I would spend eternity as.
Wow.
And that wasn't something I thought of as hell. So like, imagine wrestling with all those thoughts.
Yeah.
You know,
That'd be tough.
Yeah. I was terrified. When I never went back to sleep. I waited for her to wake up. I didn't want to wake her up and be like, God just told me he's going to kill me. She'd be like, what are you drinking? You know, like,
do you feel like it was God in that moment, or do you feel like it could have been something else?
Right. My first thought was, this is a schizophrenic break.
Yeah.
You know,
Or not that it was you being schizophrenic, but maybe another entity.
no, that never crossed my mind.
Okay.
But since I've thought thoughts like that,
Yeah.
you know, could it have been a UFO? Could it have been, you know, I've even told,
Maybe demonic or something.
right. No, I've thought that plenty.
Yeah.
And then the other voices would definitely kind of make you wonder that. But the overwhelming feeling was that it was God. And I didn't like it. I vacillated back and forth between schizophrenia and God. And so I went to the psychiatrist and I was like, here's what happened. You know, what do you do with this? Expecting him to go get his little coat and put me in it. You know, that's really what I was expecting.
Haul you off.
Yeah. And he was very kind and gracious, and he was like, "No, John," he said, "I don't think you're schizophrenic." He asked me lots of other questions. He's like, "There's no signs of that at all." He said, "I kind of tend to believe that in the past, in the Bible days, that there were people that God came and talked to." And he said, "And I'm not sure, but I kind of tend to believe maybe that was God." And I was angry. I was like, "No, don't do that to me. I've got way more to wrestle with that than if I'm just crazy and give me some pills, you know?"
Yeah. I've looked at a lot of near-death experiencers, and they actually say that God doesn't send people to hell. There have been some where they talk about having a hellish experience, but it almost seems like it's there to redirect their life. Like they're supposed to follow, I guess, a blueprint that they agreed to beforehand, before coming here. And there needs to be something a motivation to keep them on track for what they agreed to. Do you think that could be part of the equation, or do you feel like it was a little bit more black and white, like for sure, like you're going to hell kind of thing?
No, and I've thought about this. I had the luxury of having a career as a landscaper for 20 years, and then now I've been in construction for the last 17, and so I get a lot of road time, a lot of windshield time to think about these things, and I'll explore it. Like I'll pretend I'm a lawyer, and I'm like, there's a judge, and so I'll have all these, I'll ask myself those questions like, was it this or was it that? And then I'll go back and forth, and I never 100% go, oh yeah, that's 100% what it was. But ultimately, I think it was, like you said, it was to steer me. And if you go back to the wording, like if I wrote it down, it's clear that's what it was.
Right.
Yeah.
It seems to me like, and I've thought about this, and I've studied thousands of cases of near-death experiences where they talk about God is such a loving God. Like, think about how you love your kids times a million. And then I've thought about that. I've kind of put myself in God's shoes, and it seems like if my kids spit in my face and disavowed me, told me that I'm not their father anymore,
It barely affect you.
I mean, I wouldn't like it, of course, but I'm not going to send them to hell for all eternity,
Right.
And create this separation. So I guess I've struggled with, and I think that was kind of my whole motivation to understand what near-death experiences were all about. I was concerned that there was a hell because that's how I was raised in the Christian church. And if you get the answer wrong, then you get sent there. And it seems like, I don't know, it doesn't make a lot of sense that you'd actually be sent there for all eternity. At least there would be a way out.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that, or what are your thoughts?
I could probably, we could schedule another podcast on that.
yeah, that's a big one.
Because I've thought equally amount of time about that, of like, exactly like you said, is if it's a child, and your boys are how old now?
12 and 10.
Yeah, so, they're young. Still easy to love them. I've got a 37 and a 34-year-old now.
Yeah.
And there's moments where you question that relationship. And I think that's healthy. I mean, it's not desirable. I'd rather it just be roses and, Disneyland forever, but it's not. Like, there's gonna come a time, or not for sure, but a lot of children, myself, hear stories from other people.
There is a breaking from the...
There's a breaking, and that kid will look you in the eye after you did all this stuff and say, I hate you, or they'll pull away and they'll spend time with their mom, and you'll find out they talk bad about you. And it's very painful.
Sure.
And I imagine that's how God feels. And as far as like, is there something that would ever be so broken that I would be like, I just want you to die?
Yeah, I want you far from me for all eternity,
Right.
kind of thing.
And that's kind of where we're at in this life, I think. If you get to a certain place of maturity in your life, you question who you're going to be friends with and who you're not, who you're going to associate with, who you're
Right.
not. And the dividing line is when, not just when somebody doesn't want to grow. That's a exit. Okay, you don't want to grow anymore. I do, or vice versa. I'm cool in this place. You go on this journey.
Right.
I don't want to go with you. That's a good reason to separate.
Yeah.
And I could see maybe
Or maybe it's that we are choosing a path that is separate. It's out of alignment with
Right.
what God is.
right.
Because we do have the freedom of choice.
Correct.
So, like, I mean, we're all individual souls, and that seems to be the number one rule of the universe, that you can choose what you latch onto,
Right.
alignment-wise, energy-wise, frequency-wise, however you want to put it. And some people seem to, these ideas of like spirits being left behind on the planet, that kind of thing. Well, what if you're still attached to your life or earthly things, material things, or a situation, what if you refuse the tunnel
Right.
and you say, no, I'm going to stay here? Does God say no?
I
would
was
say
listening
not.
to an interesting podcast the other day where it was kind of scary. I'd never thought about it, where somebody was saying that's the test. They were saying, have you heard that? Where
No.
like if you choose to go to the light, that's where we're in the earth is like supposedly some eternal prison that we live in. And
I've heard that. I've heard
and
the
then
prison theory.
And then we get stuck here. So going to the light's actually going to make you reincarnate and get stuck
Right.
instead of staying here.
I have heard that. That's a terrifying
That's
thought.
a terrifying thought.
Yeah,
Like,
so then you're like, well, what do I choose?
right. I almost wish they hadn't told me that. I'd
Yeah.
rather just go to the light and talk to Jesus again,
Yeah,
We don't know.
that's right.
We don't know. You have to take that risk. But that's why I like to kind of, if you believe that God made himself man and came to earth, and you believe that in the Old Testament it says that he created us in his image, I think it helps me to feel more connected to God, that he does think like me,
Right.
and he does get hurt, and he does have the need to get space. And maybe he even has the need to send somebody to hell.
Right.
I think, I generally believe there is a hell. And I generally believe, after many thousands of hours of thought, that there is a purgatory.
As a place and not just a state of mind?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't have anything in the Bible, because most of the stuff I've looked at in the Bible, I can't remember if we talked about that or not at church, it seemed like, if you really break the Bible down, it doesn't really say there's a hell. Like when they were talking about hell in Jesus's times, it was a city.
Right. Right.
So I don't know.
I wonder, I've looked into the idea of, and this seems to kind of make a lot of sense to me, and it does coincide with a lot of near-death experiences where they say that we are a part of God and God is a part of us. So then this image comes into my mind of like, if my fingers disappointed me, would I chop them off?
You'd have to be a
Right.
some bitch.
It doesn't make a lot of sense. And then also like, if you're dealing with quantum physics and particle entanglement and the double slit experiment,
It
things like
aligns.
that, the idea that everything is consciousness makes sense. Like all is consciousness. This reality we're in. I mean,
Right.
quarks and the atoms and everything that's put together is just energy. Most of it is empty space.
Yeah.
So it seems to be that this place that we're in is a dense, energetic field,
A construct of sorts.
a construct of sorts. I don't know if I want to call it a simulation, but
Yeah, I don't like that word. Much,
I'm not sure if I like that
But it
either.
resonates.
It could be, but our souls have to connect to this realm by entering a body. Otherwise, why would we even do that? Like we would just come here and experience life as a soul. So it's almost like we need the body as a vehicle in order to experience this dense of a realm. So I wonder, like, outside of the body, so many people talk about, heaven is a place where you can, if you loved flowers, you can create a garden. Whatever you can imagine, you create mentally.
Yeah.
So I wonder if heaven is a mental space. It's not taking away from what it is. Like it's real, but if it's all a mental space, then maybe hell is also a mental space. So so in other words, if we're feeling like I deserve hell, or if, not even just the deserving, but just in a dark place, you might just manifest a hellish environment. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you're onto something. Yeah, and I think I briefly touched on. I think there's a religion that kind of believes that, and I'm sure you probably saw that movie with Robin Williams, Requiem for a Dream.
It's What Dreams May Come.
What Dreams May Come. Wow, confused the two names, but yeah, that movie was all about that, where like the main character, Cuba Gooding Jr. was his son.
Right.
And they explained why he had to come in that form. That's such grace, if that's the case.
Right. Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, but the new stuff that's coming out with quantum mechanics and the slit theory and all that, it's so fascinating because it aligns and it resonates. And even the Matrix, like, I don't know if you felt that way, but I'm sitting there watching this movie going, forget religion. This is on to something here.
There's something true about this.
Yeah. And I think everybody felt that way a little bit.
And then, I've studied UFOs and I guess the paranormal. And then I kind of take into account the idea that so many people that have had near-death experiences, they are in the hellish state for a while, but as soon as they call on God, not necessarily even Christ, sometimes Christ, but sometimes they're just calling on God, and that crying out is redirecting their focus onto light. And then the experience completely changes. They're now in heaven and talking to Jesus or Buddha or whoever their God is.
Right. I'm sure there's examples of and I'm hoping that maybe you'll do that. That's when we first started talking about this near-death experience, I was like, gosh, I hope he goes out and starts interviewing people about this, because I'd want to be a part of that in some way, form.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think from what I've read a lot about near-death experiences, kind of like that, like, yeah, sometimes it's Buddha, sometimes it's a grandfather, it's whatever you're probably most comfortable with.
That's right. It seems to be tailored for the individual.
Right. And then I've even questioned, I never asked you this, but I've even questioned about DMT, and how supposedly our brains do a big burst of DMT right when we die.
Right.
Have you heard that?
Yes.
So maybe it's all a hallucination. I don't know.
I've looked into that. I've done a lot of not like in-depth studies of DMT itself, but my sense is that DMT is partially a bridge to the other side.
That's what I kind of think too.
It can be. It's not necessary.
Right.
But people that take DMT and have also had near-death experiences have a different experience.
Oh, really?
So the DMT does mimic the near-death experience to some degree.
Yeah.
But it's usually not. Yes, there's this consciousness expansion going on. They feel like the ego falls away.
And they even talk about talking to God.
And they have conversations with higher levels depending on how much they take or whatever. But especially like I think it's with the toad venom that people take, which is even more potent than DMT. That's like a straight to God, conversation kind of thing. But what I gather is that you're still attached to the body, bodily form when you're on DMT. There's still kind of an anchoring to the body. And so you don't have like the full effect of that a lot of people talk about, where they're hovering above their body, looking down most of the time, and then they go somewhere else. Yes, there's the going somewhere else, but you're never like, I don't think it's necessarily the same type of experience. Maybe sometimes, maybe it's very similar in some cases, but a lot of near-death experiences, there are some things that are characteristics that are a little bit different.
Yeah, for sure. And one of the reasons why I decided to start sharing this story with people was I hoped that somebody else would share their similar story to validate it, is what I was hoping for originally.
Yeah.
And so in my mid 30s, I started doing that, and it was scary, but so glad I did, because I'm sure just like you've talked to a lot of people that had it, when you talk to somebody else that has it, it almost makes you think, why are we talking about anything else?
Right.
You know,
This is the foundation of everything, right?
this isn't a movie. Like, we're living miracles right now. Like women have a portal to bring souls into this world.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Yeah, that's right.
And we're not talking about that.
Yeah.
And how you leave and then might come back, and are they watching? Like, that's so crazy, man. And so it's exciting to meet somebody else that is excited about that. But yeah, I talked to this one lady that she was a doctor. Did I tell you this story already?
I don't think so.
I'll tell it again. So she was a doctor, and her heritage was from India. And so I'm not sure what her religious context was, if she was a Christian or not. I think she was, but anyway, she was telling me how she had pancreatitis and she died on the table. They cut you open from here to here, and they open you up and they have to soak all the toxins out.
Right.
And she was young at the time when that happened. I think she was like in her late 20s, had just become a doctor, and she went to heaven. She was there for like a week, she felt like, and she said, and it's cool to talk to somebody as an adult that had one of these, because their experience is different, you know. And I guess everybody says, but she said there was this tower that she's in, and I've heard other people reference that, and there's many floors to this tower. And she said she had dinner with Jesus, she had dinner with family members, she was like reading books and had full understanding of everything, and just enjoying afterlife. And Jesus came to her one day and was like, hey, you want to go back? And she's like, no, why would I want to go back?
Most of them don't want to come back.
Yeah. And he said, that's cool, it's your choice, but just to let you know, your sister is going to have the same thing happen to her in 2 years. And because you're a doctor, you can save her if you want. And it floors me that her choice was out of that much love to say, yeah, send me back. Wow. And she said when she came to, her sister was there, and her sister's a psychiatrist. And she said, hey, I got to talk to you. And she said almost exactly 2 years later, it happened to her sister. And she was on the team that saved her. So yeah, that validated a lot of feelings and thoughts.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that when they're sent back, the reason that they choose to come back is out of love for their kids, for a family member.
How beautiful is that?
Yeah, because they see like what the effect of them being gone and what that will do to their kids and their family.
That's a good question. Because I don't know that answer. Like, what? I mean, if you feel that safe, why would you be afraid for her sister to come there?
Right.
That opens up so many other questions.
It does. But I think it's the other aspect that we're not touching on is that they're shown there's a reason for all of this. And so they know that living life is hard. And out of love, they see, for example, like there was a woman who had a near-death experience. She's on the other side. She's told that, it's not your time. She doesn't want to go back. She's shown that her children are going to suffer. They're going to continue in life. And knowing life is hard.
But not fully.
And they're going to continue to suffer. And one is going to get on drugs and possibly commit suicide at some point in time.
Like the butterfly effect movie.
Like the butterfly effect.
Yeah.
So now she knows like how her life is impacting other people.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
And that's the thing that most of us don't know.
Right.
We're not sure how we're impacting other people. But we could probably go on for a long time talking about a lot of different things. And there's so much more to this kind of topic. I think we'll have to wrap it up today and maybe shoot for next time.
Yeah, for sure. I'm game anytime, man.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming, and
thanks for letting me
coming.
join you. And great questions.
Yeah. All right.
Good to catch up.
We'll see you later.
Bye, guys.